here we are, part two. You know what? YouTube will do a part three if we have to. So, Andy Barnes, 5x5. Thank you. Totally not a spy balloon. Spy balloon crew unite. Yeah. Hi, welcome back. Little pro tip for everybody in the merch business. 90% of the world is right-handed, which means they're going to probably hold their coffee cup with their right hand, which means if you want your brand to be seen, you should print your logo on the opposite side of the coffee cup. Yeah, so that when people are drinking from your coffee cup, the logo can be seen out there in the world. Yeah. Put the logo on both sides. Matt Bear, you could do that, but that doubles the cost for the printing. Anyway, just things to think about. So essentially, what you want to do is print your coffee mug or whatever in your left-handed orientation, because that puts the logo out, and then that way people can see the logo. But I digress. I was telling y'all, you're amazing, because the Caleb House donor matching fundraiser hit 375K, which was the goal, which puts us at 750K, which squares our books operationally for the year based upon projected costs, and purchases another care house for Caleb House 1, our first restoration facility. So thank you is what I was trying to say. I will add as well, a lot of people will ask, if you're the type of person like I am, Awesome Bear, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like, good, hit the target, smash the goal, next. Well, number one, if you're that kind of person like I am, take a moment to rejoice in your wins, to be thankful, to experience gratitude, to thank the creator for these things. That's one, because if you're 100% target focused 24/7, it's demoralizing, right? It creates a lack of fulfillment. But two, after you've stimulus, pause, response, you should have an idea of where you're going next. So where are we going next? Caleb House, to complete construction of our first restoration facility, we need another $5 million, which is great. Okay, can't hit a target you can't see. Cool. And we'll get it. One way or another, we'll get it. And one of the things that I wanted to encourage you all on, if the spirit moves, consider recurring donations to Caleb House. That helps us because the recurring donations give us a budget to work from, right? It creates some consistency. Consistency creates expectancy, which allows for us to forecast costs and allows for us to make informed decisions when it comes to how to not bury our talent in the ground, but how to multiply it for good stewardship, the parable of the talents. And so the 5 million, scoff, exactly, Striker Cade. And so if the spirit moves, consider recurring donation for Caleb House. That helps us a lot on the back end when it comes to budgeting and forecasting. So that's the Caleb House news. Thank you to every one of you. We'd be dead in the water without you. And we're going to keep doing what we do, regardless of whether or not the reptilian overlords approve of it or cancel your live stream mid-sentence or whatever. Okay. Which is another reason, being frank, to be on Patreon. Patreon has always served as a tertiary platform to YouTube. Primary, alternate, contingency, emergency, right? Pace planning, which has a lot to do with everything, but I believe has its origins in communication. And what we're doing right now is commo. And so if you're primary channel goes down, then you switch to your alternate. Alternate goes down, then you switch to your contingency. Contingency ain't working, then you switch to emergency. And Patreon helps fill that role for us in addition to all the other things that are over there. So consider that as well. It's $10 a month. The link is in the description. And tonight, dear patrons, I know many of y'all are watching. What's up, Bertrand? Good morning, Bertrand. Many of y'all are watching. We have Pelt tonight, Patreon exclusive live stream Thursday. Will be 18:30 to 1900 start time, somewhere in there, between 6:30 and 7 Central Time. And we'll get on there and we'll do our typical Pelt hour or 2 or 3 of Q&A and hang out and, deep conversation. So, let's see, what else? I've been invited to return to Chad Prather's show, which is super cool. And in large part, I believe the reason I was invited. Well, first, let's always defer to the Most High. I'd never met Chad before. We had been texting back and forth for a couple of years and trying to make something happen, and finally we did. And when I met Chad, the spirit was there. And I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with Chad. I don't know what the Father is doing with Chad, but I do know that through the conviction of the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, that we are supposed to be doing something or some things together for the kingdom. And I'm going to keep investigating that. And I'm going to keep going back until he and I figure out what that thing is. But I knew the moment I met him, yep, A, supposed to be here. B, this guy has the spirit. And that's something that, kind of, again, referring to yesterday's live stream, just because you're rough around the edges, just because you use coarse language, doesn't mean that you don't have the spirit, doesn't mean that you aren't a son or a daughter of the Most High. And people are concerned about stumbling blocks, right? Bear, don't set a stumbling block before others. Fair enough. But don't set a stumbling block before me, because if I communicate in a certain way and your feedback is the way that you're communicating is wrong, it's not unrighteous, I would submit. It's wrong. That then creates an onus to just not communicate at all, to just keep my mouth shut. Well, if I just keep my mouth shut, then I'm not talking about the Most High. I'm not talking about Messiah. I'm not talking about the Holy Spirit. Am I? And so, and ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you again, I'm not perfect. I'm going to do things that are going to disappoint you. I'm going to say things that you don't like. I'm not perfect. And to the extent that I'm a role model the belief I have in Messiah and the belief I have in the Father. If you take one thing away from this channel, let it be that. But I never signed up to be a role model. That being said, I understand that a man of Elohim, and more importantly, a pastor, is a role model. Cool. Well, model the behaviors that you find to be righteous and good and profitable for your life, and don't model the behaviors that you don't. But when you attempt to curtail somebody's speech due to maybe the 10% of their speech that you don't like, you don't agree with, you don't find profitable for reproof and instruction, the other 90% that is, or that could be for so many other people, you've then turned all of it off, right? And people say, well, but can both sweet water and salt flow from the same fountain? Should it? I don't know that it should, but it does. Because I'm human. I'm not Messiah. And for the 1900th time, when you see something good in me, you're getting a glimpse of Messiah in me. Because I'm a busted up piece of shit. And I don't really need to be reminded of that on the regular. Which brings me back to Chad. He's also a human being. He's also had his life experiences. He's also a busted up piece of shit, but he is a son of the Most High. And I knew that the moment I met him. And I'm going to go on back whenever he'll have me. Why? I don't know. But I feel the Father in it. And if we can reach one more person for the kingdom, win. That's a win, right? And so that's the spiritual reason I think that I've been invited back to go speak with Chad again. On a practical level, it's in very large part because y'all from the Bear Nation showed up. You showed up and watched that premiere. You were in the comments. You were sharing that show out like crazy. And the episode with me and Chad that we did on his channel has gotten as many or more views as when he was at Mar-a-Lago. That's significant. And that shows you, again, the power of the body, the power of the Bear Nation, of people mutually supporting one another. Speaking of mutual support, look who it is. So thank you for doing that, because that is in large part the practical reason. Oh no. Don't attack me. Hi. What was that? What was that? Yeah. Are you gonna eat Dr. Trevor Wilkins when he comes for a visit? You're gonna chew his face off and rip his beard hairs out? Yeah, right. Take that, Dr. Trev. You're mine now, monster trucker. You want some coffee? Some coffee? Do you have a good nap? Oh no. Do you have a good sleep? What'd you do? What were you doing last night? Yeah. You up all night making cookies in the hollow tree with the other elves? Yeah. The little shortbread cookies with the fudgy stripes on them? Mm-hmm. Was it a good time? Yeah. You see all the people? Look at all the people. I better get squish attacks, says Dr. Trev. Bro, it's on the menu. It's happening. Good morning. Hi. What was that? What was that? Oh my goodness. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. You gotta just do the show with me from now on? Forever?
Forever and ever.
Forever and ever? Awesome. Yeah. So this is actually good because it'll help me temper my next bit of information. Oh, Dad. Dad, do the news. I'm trying, baby. I'm trying. Unconfirmed, because I don't have a way to confirm this. So we'll put it in rumant, but A1 source, and I don't say A1 source lightly. A1 source. Here's a few tidbits of information based upon a conversation that I had recently with some people in the know. And don't, what at? FedEx? That's good. All right. We won't hit the claymores. It's just FedEx. All right. Let me think how to wordsmith this in such a way I don't want to betray confidences. Number one, the feds. Which feds? I can't tell you. The feds. No, don't assume. No, that there are more than 4,000 terror cells. Cells, not individuals, cells. 4,000 known terror cells in the United States right now. Primary composition of those cells are Middle Eastern, Russian, and Chinese. That's tidbit one. Okay. Number two, incursions at U.S. military bases domestically here, that's what domestically means, here on our soil, is way, way, way up. Many key installations, more than one a day. We've talked about people doing, IPB, intelligence preparation of the battle space, right? Doing recons, doing probes, putting together target packets, essentially. And yeah, I can't say, I would say trust me, but don't. Pray over it, okay? And then three, some people in the know whose job it is to guard the President of the United States. So you know which agency we're talking about. Some of these people have said that there seems to be a completely underwhelming concern about the 2024 presidential election. And my inference from that, this is me now saying, and we're talking about veterans of this service who have been through multiple administrations. My inference is they're not concerned about the 2024 election because the administration isn't convinced that it's going to happen. Either that it's going to be an open and shut case, or that it ain't going to happen. And now, these are all things that we've been talking about at this channel for a hot minute. But I found it interesting that from those who are in the know, she got a hold of my necklace. What are you looking at over there? What are you doing? Peace out, Bear Nation. I found it interesting from those who are in the know that there's corroborating supporting information. So take all that with a grain of salt. And again, I am not in a position to confirm it, but I have been collecting these little breadcrumbs of data for a long time. And I'm sharing this with you because if you find yourself overwhelmed or exhausted in your preparedness, I don't want you operating out of fear. I don't want you hearing, oh my gosh, there's 4,000 terror cells in the United States. That's mathematically 80 per state. I need to buy all the ammo and all the guns right now and dig a foxhole in my front yard. I'm telling you this because if the Spirit convicts that you need to be more prepared than you already are, here's a second witness. I have been, how shall you say, preparedness ebbs and flows, right? I get a conviction from the Spirit, I operate on it. And sometimes that conviction is buy another pallet of rice. And it's like, and then my wife is like, really? We need another pallet of rice? I was like, babe, I don't know if we need it or not, but the Spirit said so. So I'm going to go and try spirits. The Apostle John tells us to test spirits, to prove spirits. And so make sure that what you're doing in all things is in line with the will of the Father, not just what you think is a good idea. You want to be working in line with His will to the best of your ability, 24/7, 365. But if you have a conviction to continue to prepare, let this be another witness, because I have not, being perfectly honest, the purchasing of more prepper shit for me, in the last easily 6 months, probably, that switch has been flipped off because we've been building this house. We've been building Caleb house. We've had this baby. I've had other priorities. And when it comes to buying things, I've bought everything I knew to buy over the last 20 years for prepper stuff. And it turns out that, and there are things you do need to buy from a preparedness standpoint, but it's actually far less than you think that it is. You don't, this is me saying this, you don't need 20 rifles and 20 different knives and 10 different sets of load bearing equipment. You don't need that. You actually don't need any of that if you get out of breath walking to your mailbox. Like you need a PT, and PT is free. It just costs you time. If you don't have a house to live in, you don't need a solar array. You need to figure out your basics first and then start building the more advanced things. But I'm very much so on the production side of things now, trying to be on the production side of things. And even that's challenging because production takes time. It takes stewardship. And time has been at a premium here lately. But I am concerned, not afraid, but I am concerned about what the future holds in between now and November. PT, Quintrees is physical training, exercise. I'm concerned about what happens in between now and November. And to be absolutely clear, my hope is nothing. Nothing stupid happens. But I have been saying for at least a year, these people coming across our southern border, they're not women and children. They're not just women and children. The number one ethnicity of people coming across the border right now is Chinese. And you don't just leave China, okay? Like that's one of the things people are missing. You don't just leave China. If you're here as a Chinese national, it's because China wants you to be here. And so these Chinese folks, these Middle Eastern folks, these Russian folks and Baltic region folks and former Soviet state folks are fail-safes, I think, for the current administration, which has been bought and paid for. We know where their allegiances lie. 10% to the big guy, right? And so I think if they're not going to get their way, they'll push one of the big red buttons they can push is these 4,000 sleeper cells that are here. I don't want that. And those cells will go active. If they go active, they will hit critical infrastructure, power. Power affects everything else in 2024. They'll take the power down, and they don't need a high altitude EMP to do it. They need a rifle to do it, and they got plenty of them. They'll take the power out, and then they'll behave badly in the built-up areas. They will not just hit the built-up areas, but they'll probably start there because that's the most bang for their buck. That's how terrorism works, right? Impact on civilians. I'm actually giving a talk at Self-Reliance Festival this fall talking about how communist revolutions have negatively impacted the rural areas post-revolution and lessons learned from that, how we can apply that to our lives and our preparedness, because a lot of us are rural. A lot of us are trying to produce our own calories. There are threats in the countryside too, because the communist insurrection begins in the cities because that's where the most people are. That's where the most influence can be exerted. That's where the politicians are and the money is. And then it spreads outward from there through the suburbs into the countryside. And so the countryside is not without threats as well. But being in the countryside does buy you time. Buys you time. And time and distance are mutually beneficial, inextricable friends. So I don't know what's coming. I'm not a prophet in that regard, but it does concern me. So I'm just putting that back on your radar. Let's see. Oh. We don't have much time. Tisha B'Av. What's up, Sage? Patrick, it's inevitable this year. I think it's going to happen for sure. Yep. Any recommended books covering that subject? That's a great question, Justin. No, not yet, because the way I work is I'm really good with a deadline, timelines, and budgets. I know when Self-Reliance Festival is, and I know that I need to be prepared by then. And right now, in my brain, I'm formulating the structure of the talk. And once I have the structure of the talk, then I will begin my research to either prove or disprove the points that I want to make for the talk. And so knowing broad brushstrokes of history and communist history, I'm familiar with the most likely courses of action in that situation. But I haven't begun doing the direct research to backstop my supposition, my thesis, with information, with data. So I don't have that information yet, but I will. And so if you can be at Self-Reliance Festival, you should be. And if you can't, you should definitely be consuming the media that they will produce at Self-Reliance Festival. Because I intend to, unless there's another tornado, like the last time I was at Self-Reliance Festival, I intend to be there and give my talk. So a couple of other things. Shout out to Just a Nazarene Leather Co. This gorgeous piece of work was sent to me by them, and Bertrand, bless you, brother, is the one who provided this to me through Just a Nazarene Leather Co. This is a leather-bound copy of the scriptures, and it's gorgeous. Just gorgeous. And it's the blue book. It's the blue book that I'm guessing has been contact cemented, with this beautiful leather on there. This, again, Just a Nazarene Leather Co. And they make all kinds of stuff. They do the leather pouches for the Refuge Medical leather pouch kits, and they make obviously this, which is awesome. And they do a lot of custom leather work, and they have off-the-shelf leather products as well. So huge shout out to them. Go check it out. And this is just gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. And thank you, Bertrand, as well. Bertrand, who has his own Instagram page now, doing the things out there. Very cool. Yeah. Whiskey and Rebellion. Need. Yeah. She's slobbering on you?
No, I just went to kiss her.
Oh.
God, mouthful of slop.
Something else completely unrelated. This is coffee time, y'all. This is not a structured talk. This is just I drink coffee while talking at the camera so we can spend quality time together. This comes from a company called Original Grain. I just got it, so I don't know about the durability, but it's gunmetal and ammo crates is what this is made out of. And I thought that was really cool. And I needed a slightly nicer watch than what I had because I was in St. Louis talking to people who are way better dressed than I am. And it occurred to me that my Timex wasn't keeping up with the rest of my outfit. And I don't have Rolex money. If I did have Rolex money, I guarantee you I wouldn't be spending it on a Rolex. And so I was like, I need something that looks presentable, but it's also cool. And I like the brown in there because the brown goes with my Origin Buffalo boots, which pair nicely with my blue suit and my blue and white pinstripe shirt. And so that's from a company called Original Grain. And it seems very well made. I like it a lot. One of the observations that I had while I was in St. Louis, surrounded by a bunch of people that dress way better than I do, is they all had really, really nice watches, and 80% of them need to use their watches better. The people were late to everything. Is it Bluetooth? No, it's nothing. It's 100% analog, and I like that. It doesn't emit. It does not emit. And in our line of work with Caleb House, um, emissions are something that we're very keen to. That's why I tell you guys, if you're gonna go do any kind of hood rat shit, leave your phone at home. Wind up. No, it's got a battery, I believe. I don't know all the details on it. The company is Original Grain, and they make watches out of whiskey barrels and ammo crates and whatever. And apparently they plant a tree, I think, for every purpose-driven entrepreneurship. They plant a tree for every watch you buy or something. I don't know. I need to buy like eh, 500,000 more watches from them in order to make up for the number of trees that I've cut down in my life. But my point here is when I was in St. Louis, there was a lot of people who had very nice watches, like watches that cost as much or more than my pickup truck does. And gosh dang, they're terrible at using them. And just that having the watch as an accessory for your outfit, but not using the functionality of it, just like completely rubs me wrong. It goes against my ethos as who I am as a person. Like function over form, 10 out of 10 times. Utility over vanity, 10 out of 10 times. It's fine if the thing that works appropriately also looks cool. But if the only reason you have it is to look cool and you don't use your damn watch to tell time, if you're not policing yourself and your own timeline and schedule every day, then what's the point of having a fucking watch? Yeah. And timeliness, bro. It matters. It's a big deal. At least to me. It's a big deal to me. Watch as a man bracelet. Right. Yeah, don't just wear it because it looks cool. Wear it because it is cool. It's a timepiece. Use it to tell time so that you can be where you see that. What's the root of all of this? Biblical. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Will you be there at 0900? Yes, I will be there at 0900. Okay. Anytime after 0900, your yes wasn't yes. Now, if shit happens. You're driving along trying to get to this meeting and a tree falls down in front of you, or there's a wreck or whatever. Okay. That's outside of your control. But if you didn't control the variables that were in your control in order for you to be here on time, then this indicates to me that this was not important enough to you for you to commit to being here when you said you would be here, which goes back to let your yes be yes and your no be no. There's a deeper concept there is be careful what you commit to. Don't overcommit because when everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. Yeah. Do-do-do-do. Thomas Bear. If you aren't 10 minutes early, you're late. 100%. I agree with that. We talked about Pelt tonight. What else? Strat Par, strategic partnerships. Well, Bear Independent and Chad. I already told you guys about that. That's super cool. And then Refuge has some stuff going on right now that's really cool. And the ink isn't dry yet, and so I can't give you guys all the details, but suffice it to say that there's not a lot of, but there's a handful of really, really good, renowned training outfits in the United States that we are partnering with for kits right now, but I'm sure at some point for trainings as well. And that really encourages me. To give you an example, those of y'all who are into firearms, maybe this quote will trigger some awareness for you. A shotgun with the right load at the right range will literally pick shit up and throw it against the wall. Yeah, that guy, praise the Most High, as well as several others. So, Florida man said Clint. Yeah, Clint Eastwood. That's who we're partnering with. Wink, wink. So that's super cool. Um, and yeah, I see a bunch of y'all in the chat. Sick, says TC. Yeah. So biz dev, right? Push the flywheel every day. And that's just one example. I've been going back and forth with them, building rapport, building context, having conversations for 6 months at least. And it takes, if you're in business, you think that it's gonna like, I'll make an Instagram post on Tuesday and on Wednesday I'll have $1 million. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Business sales are relational, right? You have to have relationships with people. They have to know you, they have to like you, then they have to trust you before they will consider transacting with you. It's as simple as that. And if they don't transact with you, that's not their fault. And it's not necessarily your fault. It's not necessarily anybody's fault. It just is. And so if you build a relationship in the expectation that you're going to transact at some point, that's short term. You might get a sale, but the lifetime revenue, the lifetime value of that sale is 1x whatever your price point is. It's good for short-term money. It's bad for longevity in the business, right? So all sales are relational. You got to build relationships with people, which means you have to actually care. You need to actually care about the person on the other end of the phone, the person on the other side of the table in this conversation, the person on the other side of the camera. You have to actually give a shit. If you don't, that's going to translate into everything else that you're doing. And the value of your company, the value of your product will suffer because of that. Because people know when somebody's selling to them. People know when you're rushing a conversation along so that you can extract a little bit of capital from them. Like we know that. Even if you don't know what terms to label that situation with, you know when it's happening. You know when the sham wow guy is trying to get you to buy, or the OxyClean guy, like and the used car salesman vibe, like you get it. Versus think about it like you go to dinner and you're having dinner, whether it's at the Cracker Barrel or the finest steakhouse in the state, whatever, right? And you have a good server, right? That's like taking care of you, not interrupting your conversation while you're talking, but making sure that you've got water, you've got everything you need, right? Good server. And at the end of the meal, the server says, "You guys like to see the dessert menu? We have an awesome New York style cheesecake. I've got a couple of pieces left if you guys are interested." Well, in business, that's an upsell. There's very high margins on dessert. That's why they want to sell dessert, right? And the server is going to get tipped more because the total check is higher. And in some places, they get a little commission when they sell things like that. Not all places. But because of the rapport the server has built with you during the meal, when she brings the dessert menu, or asks if you'd like to see it, you're inclined to look at the dessert menu regardless of whether or not you intend to buy a slice of cheesecake. But half of their battle, the server's battle, is getting the menu in your hands in the first place. Because the de facto assumption is once you're holding the dessert menu, you're probably going to get something. And if it ain't the cheesecake, it might be the chocolate cake. If it's not that, it might be the creme brulee. If it's not that, it's something, right? That's an example of relational sales. If you aren't growing, you are dying. Precisely, Andy Barnes. So, 90% of startups fail in their first year, according to a survey on LinkedIn. 90%. 65% of businesses that survive that first year are out of business by their fifth year, 75% out of business by their 10th year, 85% out of business by their 15th year. 99.6% of businesses, 99.6% never surpassed $10 million in total sales. The ones that do, the ones that are still around, the ones that are operating at that level are unicorns. And I'm proud to say Refuge has been a unicorn since the end of 2023. Praise the Most High. Now, we do a large volume, but we do a large volume at a low margin, right? We have 10% profitability built into the sale. That's what we operate the company on. Why, hello. Look at those beautiful earrings. What are those made out of? Stardust?
No.
No?
Gold.
Meteorites?
Gold.
Gold? You have gold? You got gold earrings and silver teeth. Are you a pirate?
No.
You sure? You sure?
Does it look like I'm a pirate?
You're a very colorful pirate if you are a pirate. No eye patch, no hook. Yeah. You're a neo pirate. You're a new age pirate. Good morning. So praise the Most High, Refuge is a unicorn. And I was on a call yesterday with some other people in the trauma medicine industry, and I might have went on into a rant. And I said, hey, you guys are part of the problem. And they're like, oh, what? And I said, yeah, you're part of the problem. And to a certain extent, so are we. We're part of the problem. The problem is everybody chases these military contracts for social proof that insert unit here is using our kits. And then they use that social proof in their marketing, when they go to their trade shows, when they're talking to people, it's like, oh yeah, Navy SEALs run our first aid kits. Okay. And when you're talking to a law enforcement officer or sheriff, or EMS or whatever, they're like, okay, that's social proof. It must be a good kit. The SEALs use it. Well, the SEALs, that's a big group of people. Okay. West Coast SEALs or East Coast SEALs? Which team, right? What oh my gosh, it's the org chart is escaping me here. But is it what platoon, what unit, what subunit within that group is using that kit? Because you might have like, Black Squadron has adopted our stuff. Okay. Well, that's a small group inside of a small group inside of a small group inside of a small group. What that means is, some West Coast SEAL is like, bullshit, we never used those. Oh, so now you started a fight between two Navy SEALs or two arms of the same unit or the same organization rather, one saying, yeah, we use it, and the other one saying, no, we don't. And the guys that are using it, they're never going to admit, oh yeah, totally, you should brand off of us, right? And so your social proof is destroyed. You started infighting, and they're military contracts, government funded military contracts, which means that we're going to commoditize every single piece of this kit, which makes it a race to the bottom because people are losing contracts over a discrepancy of 10 cents, which means everybody's playing the price game, which means you play that game long enough, there's no meat left on the bone because we've commoditized life-saving equipment. And that's bullshit. And we shouldn't be doing that. The value is in, if you build the appropriate kit, people stay alive. And I asked somebody on this call, I said, what do you think the TAM, the total available market is for trauma medicine? I had to think for a minute. And they're like, I don't know. It's somewhere, maybe it's $1 billion. I was like, okay, well, if you research it, it's actually a couple $100 million is what they think. The total market for trauma medicine is a couple $100 million. Because you're thinking myopically, even the people in the industry are like, yeah, trauma medicine, law enforcement, EMS, fire, military. No, the total available market is planet Earth, dumbass, because everybody breathes air. Everybody has blood inside their body. If they didn't, they'd be dead. Everybody. Now, you can't be all things to all people. You can't market to planet Earth, right? You can't communicate effectively to planet Earth. And so you need to know who your ideal end user is. It's called an avatar. Who am I talking to, right? And so Refuge is a civilian trauma medicine company. Do we work with law enforcement? Yeah, all the time. Our people are literally on their way to NASRO right now. National Association of School Resource Officers. They're literally on their way to NASRO right now to go spend 3 days talking to school resource officers. Cool. And sheriff's departments and, local law enforcement and state law enforcement, federal law enforcement. Yeah, we work with all of them. EMS and fire. Yeah, we work with all of them. Are there military units running our stuff? Mm-hmm. But they requested our stuff. And so they got a variance, if you will. They said, no, we want that. We want the Refuge thing, not the anybody else thing. And are there individuals inside of units running our stuff? Yep. But we don't have widespread military adoption of our kits, nor do I really want that. Now, like I've said previously, it'd be an honor to me if the Marine Corps decided to adopt the Bearfac. That'd be great. But I'm not like, I don't wake up every day and go, how do I get the Marine Corps to adopt the Bearfac? Because that's not relational, is it? Going back around to, do you want to see the dessert menu? Our market, the people I want to help is y'all. It's you, one at a time. Civilians, maybe prior service, and maybe some of y'all listening right now wear body armor for a living. Okay, so you're a law enforcement officer. Cool. You're welcome here too. You buy and use Refuge stuff. There's 21 officers still alive because of Refuge kits. Awesome. But I'm not seeking, I don't want to sell Houston PD 5,000 first aid kits for the clout, right? I don't want to sell the Marine Corps 235,000 Bearfacs for the clout. I want to help y'all one at a time. And when you help people one at a time, one slice of cheesecake at a time, then you build relationships. And when you build relationships, those people that you help one slice of cheesecake at a time will tell their friends, that restaurant is awesome. The servers there are great. The quality of the food is great. You should go check it out. And when they do, when your friends tell you to go check something out, that one recommendation from a friend is worth tens of thousands of dollars in paid advertising and marketing and branding. It just is word of mouth. And Refuge I don't have tens of thousands of dollars to throw at paid advertising and marketing and branding. I don't know if you guys know this. It's the middle of 2024. It's kind of a shit show out there. What we can and what we do is serve the customer, one customer at a time. And because of that, once you buy Refuge, almost exclusively in the 99th percentile, you're Refuge for life. Once you get a hold of something that we do, once you experience our customer service, you're Refuge for life. Cool. Win. And that's really important for a lot of reasons. A, I want you to have a good kit. B, we don't have recurring revenue. Some of y'all buy everything we ever produce. And that's an honor to me. That's amazing. In fact, there was a guy who called in recently. I think called in, maybe emailed in. He was like, hey, I don't have a Gen 0 Bearfac. Can you make me one? He's like, I have everything else. And the SO team was like, what's a Gen 0? Then Bob came to me and he was like, hey, do we have any Gen 0s anywhere? It's like, no, we have one. There's one Gen 0 Bearfac. It's mine. It's a prototype. They're like, where is it? We want to copy it and build it for this guy to send him a Gen 0 to complete his collection. That's amazing. And you know what? We're gonna make that guy a Gen Zero because he asked for it. But how many first aid kits do you need? The answer is probably not as many as this guy has, but he's not buying them because it's another first aid kit. He's buying them because it's the ethos of the company, because he's supporting an American small business. Because you can get tourniquets from anywhere. You can get ballistic nylon from anywhere. Some are better, some are worse. You can get pressure bandages from anywhere. Some are better, some are worse. Hemostatics, chest seals, whatever. All the commoditized stuff. You can get this stuff from anywhere. You don't get relationship. You don't get the support. You don't get the education. You don't get the knowledge. You don't get, and we don't talk about this. This is not part of our branding. But at 3:50 in the afternoon every day, 3:50 in the afternoon, we have a stack of boxes on a cart that are going out. And everything at Refuge stops. And everybody comes into the shipping department and lays hands on those boxes. And we pray to the Father. A, thank you that we get to do this. What an honor. B, get these kits into the hands of the people that need them in your time. And if they have to use them, preserve that life so that they might come to know you better. And we're not like, I'm not trading on that. I'm not, hey, let's make sure that we put that into our marketing and our brand strategy. It just is. It's just the ethos of the people in the company. It's like we get to serve the creator of the universe every day when we show up. Yeah, you can get a Cat Gen 7 tourniquet from anybody. Just Google it. You don't get that from anybody else. And so all sales are relational, and relationships begin as one-on-one dwell time, spending time with a customer, getting to know them. How do you meet their needs? I've been in the customer service chat and I've had people who've had a stomp bag in their cart talking to them. It's like, you don't need a stomp bag. No, you need, a bare minimum. Get a bare minimum. But Bear, you lost $1,800 on that sale. Bro, it all belongs to Dad anyway. I'll get what I need when I need it. That doesn't mean I don't chew my fingernails occasionally looking at the bank account. That happens. That's part of my job as CEO, because I've got to be able to protect, provide for, and bless all the people in my care. All the people who have hitched their wagons to my wagon. All these teammates in this company. They got to get paid. Their bills got to get paid. Their children have to get paid. A workman is worth their hire. That's Torah. I'm required by the laws of the Creator to make sure that these people are equitably provided for. But I talked somebody out of a stomp bag. You might even be watching right now. Talked them out of a stomp bag. The stomp bag's an amazing kit. But it didn't fit their needs for what they were trying to do. So I talked them into a bare minimum. You lost 18 grand on the sale, bro. I didn't lose shit. I made a customer. It's what I did. And we do that one at a time. I don't even know how we got onto this conversation. We're talking about strategic partnerships. One at a time. Push the flywheel every day. Every day. Just show up, do the work every day. And you pray as if it all depends on him, because it does. And you work as if it all depends on you, because by the sweat of your brow, you will earn your bread. The Father gave the Israelites manna in the wilderness. They still had to get up off their ass, go walk around, collect it, and prepare it. They had to do the work, even with divine blessing, inexplicable blessing. Unafraid as a prepper. We're an hour long. We'll probably do that as a separate video. What do you guys think about that? Roan Jr., repeat customer. I want the SOB next. I love that. I appreciate that. Bare minimum is perfect for anyone. Thank you, JC. Glock 316 says, yes. I have a farm. I'm a medic and I have a lot of kits. I want a stomp bag because it's awesome, but it's not the right kit for me. Good on you for not upselling. I appreciate you, TC. Imagine you walk into like a gun store, right? And you got to get to know, like, you're behind the counter. What's the end use? What are you trying to do, right? Maybe Glock has got a sale going on right now, right? And the guy comes in, he's like, I want to go deer hunting. Your answer shouldn't be, well, you need a Glock Model 20 and 10 millimeter, right? And it's not that, or you need a Browning machine gun, right? It's not. It's like, what's your end use? What are you trying to do? I want to shoot a deer. Awesome. Okay. What caliber are you thinking? I don't know. Well, typically we're talking about, 270, 308, 30-06. Those are kind of the three big cartridges, 223. Yeah, but is it legal in your state? Do you have to have a 30 caliber? What are you in a brushy area? Do you want a 357 or a 45 government lever gun? Like, what do you want? You want a lever gun? You want a bolt gun? You want a semi-auto? You want a single shot? Or do you want to use a 12 gauge slug? You know what I mean? And so 300 Win Mag. Yeah, Striker Cade here. Bro, I can't see 10 yards to the right from where I'm sitting through this window because the Oklahoma rainforest is in full bloom right now. But my point is, it's relational. Just because we're pushing Glocks today, if somebody walks in and wants to go deer hunting, we don't refer them to a 10 millimeter Glock because we're pushing Glocks today. Like, no, we find out what they need. Maybe we find out like they actually don't want to go deer hunting. Why do you want to go deer hunting? Well, I just, the world's going to end and I want to be able to like produce food and, stuff. It's like, so have you ever been hunting? No. It's like, well, maybe you should go hunting with a buddy first before you commit to hunting. If your buddy's into hunting, I guarantee you they have a spare rifle. Just go, sit, watch, find out, talk to them. What are they like? What are they not like? I like 7 millimeter. I like the 7 millimeter Remington Magnum myself personally. But that doesn't mean everybody needs a 7 millimeter. It's like, what does this customer need? M. Hayes, first time buyer with Refuge Medical. What a fantastic experience. Thank you for actually caring about people. You're welcome, M. Hayes. I appreciate y'all. 300 Win Mag, another way to move mountains. I like 300 Win Mag too, man. It's a great round. For what application, right? Which comes back to like relationship, knowing the customer. What do you need? What are you trying to do? Like, what's your goal here? What's the ideal end state? How do I support you in achieving this ideal end state? And that goes back to strategic partnerships with some of these training outfits that we're talking with. It's like, it's not saying, when we approach these people, it's not saying, here's what we do. Maybe we can shoehorn what we do into what you're doing. It's saying, what gaps do you have? And how can we partner strategically to fill those gaps in a way that brings value to you, to your students, to your customers? Like, every kit at Refuge, every one of them started as a custom kit. The Bearfac was my custom kit. And on and on and on from there. Like, they're all custom kits. This guy, the SOB, was a custom kit for Patriot Plumber, who was like, hey, I'm doing like 3-gun matches and stuff, and I need a kit to run on my belt, and all the other kits that are out there suck. They're all gay. They're all floppy. They're too heavy, or they don't carry enough. He's like, I know you guys. You guys make good stuff. Can you just whip one up for me? Sure. And thus, Small the Back kit was built. And now, like, social proof Some of the 10th Mountain guys are running these. Cool. But like, you're not going to see an ad from us. It's like 10th Mountain Division, SOB, badass America. Because that doesn't apply to you in your minivan or your Peterbilt or on your homestead, right? Like, get one, beat the shit out of it. And then when it still hasn't broken, you go, oh, okay. Yeah, that is good. Maybe a year later, I'll think about buying another product. Like, it speaks for itself is my point. It speaks for itself. Like, I can't rip this in half. And I'm not a tiny person, and I'm not weak. I can't rip it in half. Had somebody just in the customer service chat yesterday that was like, what exactly does guaranteed forever mean? It's like, it means that you break it, I'll replace it. And I was like, we've had five warranty claims in 5 years. I actually get excited when something breaks because I'm like, how did it fail? How do we make it better? How can we improve? You know, like that's where my brain goes. It's like, oh, their stuff broke. Cool. Just send them another one. And so I'm getting market research by having that guarantee. Please break it. I want to know how it broke. Like early on with the adventure bags, we had an issue with the adventure bags that one, we had a handle come loose from the top of an adventure bag. And what we realized was that the way that we were stitching that handle onto the bag wasn't as good as it could have been. And so we fixed that adventure bag, sent it back to the customer with thank you, and then changed the way that we did that so we don't have that problem again. And so anyway. Oh, I think there was a lot of nuggets in here for a lot of people. Business, personal development. What's up, Hans? That's going to do it for today. I appreciate y'all like a whole bunch. Thank you for the Caleb House donor matching. Like I said, please consider recurring donations if the spirit moves you. Also, shout out to Kyle, the new director of operations for Grindstone Ministries. Grindstone just got an amazing write-up that went out in some magazine. I forget, 75,000 magazines distributed, talking about Barnesville, Oklahoma deployment and Grindstone and the work that we were doing there. That's awesome. That's just awesome. And thank you to everybody who pours into Grindstone Ministries. Patreon tonight, we got Pelt. Like I said, 6:30 to 7 p.m.-ish. And don't be afraid in between now and the election. Just keep your eyes open, your ears open. If the Spirit convicts you to get ready, do it. But don't operate out of fear. We fear only Yahweh or Elohim, the Lord our God. That's it. Otherwise, you're deeply respecting things that are trying to hurt you. And that's a waste of your time and will rob you of your joy. And what else? I'll do that video on Unafraid as a Prepper. I'll do that as a standalone video. And I will see y'all when I see y'all. May the Father make his face to shine upon you today and give you peace. Shalom.